I may have gone too far in a few places. The X-Wing Miniatures game is a dogfighting game, plain and simple. Each ship has its own little maneuvering dial with all the maneuvers that ship can pull off, and all the ships fly differently. You know, some are super fast and maneuverable, some are bigger and slower but make up for it by firing in all different directions, some are a healthy balance in between, and some are even bigger. That's actually one of the small ones of the huge ships. That's a little bitty guy. He's just a baby. He's just a boy. And you pick your ship, build your squadrons, apply upgrades, and then you face the other team, and you go and you shoot each other, and then eventually all but one of you dies. First, to start off with, you will need one of the core games, and for about $30 you get an X-Wing, 2 TIE Fighters, and you'll have all sorts of different pilots with different stats to fly your ships with. So, one game you could fly with Luke Skywalker and R2-D2, another game you could fly with Biggs Darklighter, and torpedoes. So there's some variety in the gameplay as far as that is concerned, and you're also going to get 3 different missions. Each sets up a different scenario with separate win-loss requirements for each side, allowing you to change your game up a bit. But even with the missions and the 3 ships and the different combinations that you can make, you're going to want more ships. So after you bought your core game, which one should you start with? Well, the answer is another core game. That is the first expansion you should buy for your game after the core game is buy another core game. Yep. Okay, so here's kind of a shitty thing about the game. There are a few problems with just buying a core game because one, the dice. There aren't enough. This is a Final Fantasy Flight. I don't care if I said their name wrong. This is a problem that this company has, and it's probably not an accident. I love them, but sometimes they annoy me. They have these custom. Get over here. They have these custom dice, right? And you shoot with the red die, and the green die fall off the table, but you evade with the green die after you shoot with the red die. And then you only get 3 die of each color in each set. But it's very likely throughout your gameplay that you're going to need to roll more than 3 die, which means you're going to have to re-roll one of them. And okay, it's not that big of a deal. Maybe I'm being a whiny little bitch about it, but I find it really obnoxious that I have to, okay, that was a hit, that was a focus, that was the, okay, I have to remember what that one is and then re-roll it, and then it's not that big of a deal. To me, it's a big deal. It's annoying. It's freaking annoying. I would have rather just paid $45 or something and just give me an extra set of dice or whatever it costs. It's annoying. Also, like I said, the 3 ships aren't quite enough. It's nice to have just one ship to worry about when you're first starting off, but really a lot of the fun and strategy comes from having these multiple ships that do different things and work together in different ways. You know, there's some ships in the game that can put target lock token. You get a target lock on someone and you can shoot them better. And there are ships that will put target locks on ships for you, but they just straight up give you target locks or focus tokens. These are also good. Other ships still just give you these tokens. Normally you have to spend an action on your turn to get a focus token, but some ships, no, they just give you these tokens. Some are quicker, more agile, some are bombers, and finding the different combinations, how these ships work together, and all these different cards. You got cards from this expansion with cards from that expansion, and this ship from this expansion, and you create these great, awesome squadron lists. It's a lot of fun if you want to dive down that rabbit hole. What was my point? And you got these little cardboard things to help you move around and shoot people. It's really not that inconvenient to only have one set, not as inconvenient as only one set of the dice as far as I'm concerned, but it's nice to have a second set, so that's another reason to buy another one of these. Give one side of the table one set, other side of the table the other set. So the lack of dice sucks, lack of ships suck, you're gonna want more stuff. Bottom line, overall, this is the single best deal as far as expansions go. The most efficient way to buy, essentially doubling your fleets, buying 3 more spaceships, plus the cost of the accessories that you're going to get that are going to be really helpful. There really is no better way to start buying X-Wing expansions than another core game set. Now, you might notice that there's 2 different ones. This one came out originally and has the ships from the original trilogy as well as the characters. This one came out a bit more recently, based off of the Force Awakens movie. When asking the question which core game should you get, start off with, and then maybe get later, we have to talk about the few main issues where these two really differ. Number one, yes, the pilots are different, the characters are different, original trilogy versus the Force Awakens, and if you have a large preference towards one of those movies, well, it's not a terrible thing to base your decision on, but another thing to consider is the rules. When the original game came out, it all came out in one big rule book, and a lot of people thought it just wasn't all that easy to learn from, especially for players that were new to this kind of game. So in Force Awakens, they came out with these different booklets. There's a tutorial that will walk you through a match and set up and tell you the very basics of how a game is played, and a big giant reference manual. And the third biggest difference between the two are the damage cards. So in the game, when you get shot and take damage to your hull, you'll draw from the damage deck, and you put it face down next to your ship, and if you take too many of those, you die. But if you take a critical hit, you place the damage card face up next to your ship. And there's some extra horrible thing that happens, like a cockpit fire or your weapons fail or something. And sometimes it's a thing you can get rid of, and sometimes you just have to deal with it for the rest of the game. Well, in the original core game, the damage deck is an asshole. And the critical hits are either too light, or in my personal experience, way too fucking heavy. Every time I play with that deck, I get bent over the fucking table. Every time. I have banned it from my house. If you come over here to play X-Wing, I make you take it out and leave it on the porch. And then I do a rain dance hoping the current will take it away down into the sewer with all the shit where it belongs. Not a fan of the damage deck in this game. Not a fan. So, I recommend, for whatever it's worth, that at some point you got one of these, the Force Awakens core game, at your table, because their damage deck is perfectly fair and reasonable, and no way makes randomness rule your game in a really unfun and shitty way. That's the one I started with, and I'm really glad for all those reasons listed, especially that last one. Glad I started with that, and that is probably the one that most people should start off with. So that's what I would recommend, but of course it's up to you. Now let's move on to the actual expansions, and we have three basic types. First we got these, let's call them action figure types, because they look like little action figures, because they want to horribly manipulate you. It's bad enough that they prey on my Star Wars nostalgia, but now they gotta prey on my action figure nostalgia. Manipulative bastards. So we got the action figure expansion, the box expansion, and the what the f*** am I doing with my life expansion. One of the differences between the expansions is the size of ship that it comes with. Ships come in three different sizes: small, large, and huge. Though when I say size, I mean the size of the ship base and how it's classified within the game, not the actual physical side. I mean, this ship is large, and this ship is small. And there's a few differences with how these ships fly and are set up based off of the size. Although the difference in gameplay between a huge ship and a large ship is a much wider gap than between a large ship and a small ship. These action figure expansions will only come with small ships. And they're the same ships that comes in the core game, though sometimes small ships can add in new rules. You know, the TIE Phantom adds in a cloaking device, bombers have rules for bombing, but for the most part when you're buying one of these expansions, it's not really adding so much to the game that you would feel overwhelmed. Now let's break down the expansions. So these small action figure expansions will always come with a single small ship. And of course you'll have the maneuvering dial and all the basic tokens that you'll need to fly that ship. It's also going to have several pilot cards and upgrade cards. Now, one thing you might be thinking, I know I was, you got an expansion like this, the basic TIE Fighter. Why would I want that? I already got 2 TIE Fighters. Why would I ever buy this one? Well, it's because every single expansion, every single one, will have some form of new content. Usually, in the very least, in the form of new pilot cards. So that TIE Fighter expansion comes with a few TIE Fighter pilots that you can't get anywhere else. So you'll get some pilots, some unique ones, some not, and also upgrade cards. Some will likely be more common, you can get in a lot of places, and some cards may be pretty uncommon, only appearing in a few expansions throughout the game. Like in my xwing review, which you should totally check out if you like this video, I talked about Push the Limit, an amazing card, one of my favorites, and it's always a part of... Basically, I use it in every strategy for every ship ever. I do have a problem. It's a great card, lots of fun, and this is one of the few places that you can get it. And there's numerous examples like that. So my point is, when you buy an expansion, I mean, unless the product just sucks, sometimes that happens, every expansion is going to have value. You can't go wrong buying a new one. You'll get some new shit. And the small one is great if you don't have a lot of money to spend and you don't want to overcomplicate things. Now, these expansions like this will come in two basic types. They'll either have one large ship, like these two, or they'll have two smaller ships. There are a few exceptions, but for the most part, two small ships or one large ship. Also, each expansion will come with a new mission that features those ships. Finally, we have the huge ship expansion. There are currently 5 huge ships, with at least one for each of the 3 different factions. Now, every huge ship, except for this one, will come with more ships, smaller ships. Like in this case, we got 2 new TIE fighters, the Raider has a TIE Advance, the Transport, and X-wing, so you get a little extra bang for your buck. And like any other expansion, it'll have upgrades that will help supplement your existing ships of that type. This was a big help with TIE Swarms. Plus, you get to ram other smaller ships and make them... I had a lot of fun last time I played this. Now, like the base game in these expansions, the huge expansion will also come with additional missions for you to play. Except in this case, they're an entire campaign, with multiple missions and branching storylines. Like if one side fails, that will change how the campaign continues. If that sounds like fun, and you're kind of an experienced player, and you want to shake things up at your gaming table, Huge Ship is a great way to do it. Assuming you literally have nothing else to spend your money on. Really, you should wait to buy a huge ship until after you've played a couple games on your own and you and the rest of your friends have a pretty good handle on how the game works. Otherwise, it just might seem like a bit much and it could be a bit intimidating. Well, that's it, and I hope you liked it, because we'll definitely be doing a ton more X-wing videos in the future. But in the meantime, hope this was enough to whet your appetite and hopefully clear things up a bit in terms of what expansion is right for you. Because that's what this show is about. Helping you not waste your money buying a bunch of shit you don't realize you don't actually want. And if you like this video and you want to see more, you should subscribe and share it with people. As well as tuning in every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Yes, a new video every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Although I think Monday is going to be a little different, a little out of the ordinary. But Monday, Wednesday, Friday, new video. Check it out. And there should be more videos you can click on, alright? Right there.